If you want a superstar player, you've got to pay superstar money.
You never know what happens in the transfer window, but Marc is a player of us. He's our captain.
We love to keep him at the club, so if somebody wants, to make that otherwise, they've got to make it really difficult for us.
Good evening, welcome to the Transfer Show. If you want to buy a superstar, you have to pay superstar money. The message really clear from Crystal Palace after Newcastle put a third bid in for Marc Guehi. Also on the way, Cole Palmer, rewarded by Chelsea for his stunning debut season there. Details of his new contract on the way. But what does the future hold for Conor Gallagher? He's expected back in London after his move from Chelsea to Atletico Madrid stalled. And West Ham make their 8th signing of the window as Aaron Wan-Bissaka's move from Manchester United is confirmed. We start at Crystal Palace with the future of England centre-back Marc Guehi. He's been the subject of 3 bids by Newcastle, the latest believed to be more than £50 million. Michael Bridge and James Savundra are with us, but first, let's get that very clear message from the Crystal Palace Chairman Steve Parish and manager Oliver Glasner.
Nobody has got to the valuation yet, so I agree with you. If you want a superstar player, you've got to pay superstar money. This is a player we love a lot. If we start the season with him, we'll be a better team.
We want to keep the squad together because we want to play a great Premier League season. But I don't know what happens until end of August.
Marc is absolutely loyal to Crystal Palace. Marc wants to progress his career. Of course he does. And if the right opportunity is there and it's right for us, I think it's something that he might be interested in, but he's certainly not putting any pressure on the club whatsoever.
You never know what happens in a transfer window, but Marc is a player of us. He's our captain, and but let's see.
He's homegrown. I think he's 23 years old. In the most people's team of the Euros, excellent lad. We love having him at the club. And we love to keep him at the club. So if somebody wants, to make that otherwise, they've got to make it really difficult for us. And at the moment, that's not the situation we're in.
So, Michael Bridge, he says it's going to take superstar money if Newcastle or anybody else wants to buy Guehi. What do you think of what he said?
Yeah, it's always refreshing to hear and interesting to hear Steve Parish. He's very open. What we've said over the last few weeks is that Palace are under no massive pressure to sell. However, Marc Guehi does have 2 years left on his contract, so you kind of got that feeling from Steve Parish, and he didn't say he's not for sale at any price. We're determined to keep him. He is aware that he's going to get interest. Maybe there's an element of surprise that there's not more clubs in for Marc Guehi at the moment. He's a fantastic defender. He's coming off the back of a very, very impressive European Championships. We know there's been 2 bids rejected from Newcastle. A third, maybe listening there, sounds like it's probably not going to be accepted either, which says to me this is probably going to rumble on.
It would be great news for Palace if there were more clubs interested, because then you can have an auction.
Absolutely, yeah. A bidding war would come in. And I personally think that they probably expected maybe 1 or 2 more to come in. But then you look at it, you sit down and think, what top clubs need a top defender and willing to pay the big money? And you probably would say Newcastle, maybe 1 or 2 more. But then you think, no, maybe just Newcastle as it stands. But of course, with this 2 years, as we say, listening to Steve Parish, it does make me feel that we haven't heard the last of this transfer.
And they're talking about superstar money. We understand that Crystal Palace are looking for, in the region of what Everton were looking for Jared Branthwaite, upwards of £70 million. They've seen the likes of Guardiola, Maguire move for more than that, Wesley Fofana, over the course of the last couple of seasons. And they think with the players like Branthwaite and Guehi, they've got the finished article, players who are so young but already vastly experienced. So it looks like Newcastle going to go a little bit further to try and get their man. There's still 3 weeks left in this window, but there's not long to go till the start of that season.
And Oliver Glasner is a very ambitious manager as well. I know Steve Parish was delighted, and when there was a bit of interest from Bayern Munich at the end of last season, Glasner and Parish, they want to finish maybe the top half this season, maybe go far in the domestic cups, and that is keeping your top players.
And you can bet your bottom dollar they've got their eye on potential targets if sales go through. And it's not the only potential sale of a defender.
No, we know Crystal Palace already lost Michael Guehi for £50 million in this window. He's gone to Bayern Munich. Interest could intensify around Eberechi Eze, who impressed in his cameos during Euro 2024. And we can confirm that Fulham have gone in with an improved bid to try and sign Joachim Andersen, the 28-year-old defender who Palace bought for around £20 million a couple of seasons ago. Now, we understand the bid is around £30 million including performance-related add-ons. Palace are very keen to keep Anderson. He's been so impressive for them over the course of the last 2 seasons. Therefore, this bid is unlikely to be accepted. Can Crystal Palace afford to lose 2 frontline defenders just days to go until the start of the Premier League season? Well, the good news is we got to speak to Joachim Andersen today and ask him about the transfer speculation linking him with Fulham, a club who he spent time with on loan in the last few years.
I can't say much. I can't say I have 2 years left on my contract. That's it, really.
Is it flattering?
It's always nice when clubs want you.
It's a difficult one because there's so much I want to ask you about that move and the fact that you've been playing so well and you're attracting interest to that calibre. £20 million is a huge fee potentially. That must be a real positive for you and boost your confidence.
Yeah, of course. I just play football and I try to do my best, and I had 3 really good years at Palace and we're building something great. So yeah. I'm just happy where I am, and like I said, I'm a Palace player. I have 2 years left, so I can't say more than that.
So, Michael, a lot of interest in Palace players. If I'm a Palace fan, should I be worried?
Yes, in the sense that 2 top defenders are being linked with moves away so soon before the start of the season. No, because of the way Crystal Palace do their business. Steve Parish, as we know, as we've heard, good access, hands-on, pretty much tells you exactly what he's thinking. Dougie Freedman, excellent sporting director, wanted by Newcastle, stayed at Crystal Palace. They recruit well. They recruit from the EFL, where some clubs sometimes don't really like to look into the EFL. They sign Ebery Eze, they sign Elise from there, and they reap the rewards in terms of profit at the end of the day. And of course, Eze is still there. I personally feel Palace won't be too worried. And I actually think, listening to most Palace fans, they're actually excited ahead of the new season because what they saw under Oliver Glasner over those final few weeks will get them really excited ahead of the new season.
Absolutely. Let's talk about another London club, Chelsea. Big news from there today. And after his stunning debut campaign for Chelsea and for England, Cole Palmer has signed a new contract with the club. Paul Gilmore is at Stamford Bridge for us. What can you tell us, Paul?
Well, Nick, this is a reward from Chelsea to Cole Palmer. They're showing that they will reward their players despite them being on long-term contracts already. Remember, the England international was already signed up until 2031. Well, this is a 2-year extension until 2033 that will bring him into line on improved terms with the club's other high earners. And I use that word reward. It's a reward for what he has done on a personal level. Last season, scoring 25 goals in all competition, really being the bright spark in Chelsea's season last time around. It wasn't always the best season for the team. It certainly finished strongly, but Cole Palmer's certainly a player who's shone, and Chelsea expect that kind of consistency from him. Remember, this was a player, he's now 22, before he came to Chelsea and had that really memorable season. From an individual point of view, he didn't really play an awful lot of Premier League football, so this is a logical next step for him, and that's the reason behind this news today, that Chelsea have extended his contract on improved terms until 2023.
I guess there's a certain irony, Paul, that on the day that his future becomes absolutely secure, Conor Gallagher's future is anything but secure.
Yeah, and it should say 2033. I think I said 2023 there. But yeah, on Gallagher, that's a different kind of situation. Conor Gallagher is on his way back to the UK, and this despite completing a medical and agreeing terms on a £36 million deal to Atletico Madrid. Remember, this deal was so advanced that Atletico Madrid did post a picture on social media of him having a look around the stadium, and the reason that it was so advanced, everyone was so confident, is because things were progressing on the other side as well. Samu Omorodian was on his way to Chelsea for a similar transfer fee, but that currently has stalled and is not happening as things stand. So what that does is it leaves Atletico Madrid short of cash. They either have to find another player to sell to Chelsea, or they need to raise some money, having already signed Julian Alvarez for almost £82 million from Manchester City. Well, that led them to talks, the two clubs having talks about Joao Felix, somebody Chelsea know well, having spent time on loan here back in 2003. The problem is there that that's quite prolonged because Felix naturally commands a higher transfer fee. So they're just crunching the numbers, they're talking, and essentially what that means, Gallagher in Madrid, and has been for the last week in a hotel. Not great at this stage of the season for a professional footballer, so he's just going to come back to London, maybe have a day off, then get back into training, more than likely away from Chelsea's first team, just to make sure that he's ready for whatever does happen and whatever move he can make. So clearly Chelsea hoping that that move to Atletico Madrid will happen, but it's a problem for them because he's got 1 year left in his contract. They'd already told him he was going to be a squad player under Enzo Maresca. They hadn't offered him a long-term contract to stay, so Chelsea very much in the position they risk losing him for nothing if he stays. So every effort being made to kind of find this a solution to this. One unknown at this stage, does that open up the door to a scenario Chelsea didn't want? If there has been Premier League interest in Conor Gallagher, the likes of Aston Villa and Tottenham, if they come in, all of a sudden, does that become a better option than losing him for free next summer? So all of this going on at the moment, it just means Conor Gallagher's on his way back to the UK while it's resolved.
Paul, thanks very much indeed. Let's pick this up with James here in the studio. Why are Chelsea so keen to sell Gallagher?
Well, it's worth a reminder of what Paul was saying there. Chelsea have tried to offer him contract extensions over the course of the last 2 years, but it's not been at the length that Conor Gallagher was looking for. That last offer, 2 years, the option of a further year. We understand the salary was actually comparable to other midfielders at Chelsea. The reason they didn't offer him a longer contract than that is that they only see him being a squad player this coming season with a new style of play under their manager, Enzo Maresca. So that's why they didn't offer him a longer deal than that. And with Gallagher rejecting these contract offers, there is a real danger that this academy graduate could go for nothing next summer. He could sign a pre-contract agreement with a European club in January to leave as a free agent next summer, and Chelsea are desperate not to get into that situation. And also as an academy graduate, he represents Madrid, around £34.5 million, rising to £36 million. That would be pure profit in their accounting books, which would be absolutely huge when it comes to fitting within PSR and giving them more wiggle room to spend more money on transfers.
OK, let's move to another London club, West Ham, who've been busier than most in this window. Their 8th signing
Well, they didn't offer him a longer deal than that. And with Gallagher rejecting these contract offers, there is a real danger that this academy graduate could go for nothing next summer. He could sign a pre-contract agreement with a European club in January to leave as a free agent next summer. And Chelsea are desperate not to get into that situation. And also as an academy graduate, he represents pure profit if they're to sell him. So that deal they agree with Atletico Madrid, around £34.5 million, rising to £36 million. That would be pure profit in their accounting books, which would be absolutely huge when it comes to fitting within PSR and giving them more wiggle room to spend more money on transfers.
OK, let's move to another London club, West Ham, who've been busier than most in this window. Their 8th signing confirmed today. Michael, you got
becoming imminently. The deal for De Ligt rising to around £50 million. For De Ligt, that's £17.2 million. So United feel they've strengthened in defence, an area which was a real concern for them last season with all those injuries. So United could be in a situation at the opening day of the Premier League season on Friday, and they have 4 new transfers to help support Erik ten Hag as they look to try to challenge for honours this season.
And where else might they strengthen? What other parts of the pitch?
I think they'll start looking at midfield again, Nick, and especially Manuel Ugarte from PSG. But PSG are not budging on their valuation, even though we understand the player is keen on the move. Dialogue remains open like it's been for some time this summer in terms of Ugarte. They've also been talking with Burnley over Sander Berge, who missed yesterday's win over Luton with a very slight injury. Monaco's Youssef Fofana has not left the table either. And Fiorentina Sofian Amrabat, someone United know very well. He spent a season-long loan there last season. But Manuel Ugarte is the one we keep hearing all the time. But it's Manchester, it's the midfield they're particularly focusing on now.
Michael, James, stay there. Your big moment is coming up. We're going to bring you news from all 20 clubs in our Premier League round.
Right, it's time to go around the clubs. James, get us underway.
Let's start with Arsenal. Ajax interested in signing Aaron Ramsdale on loan, but Arsenal would prefer a permanent sale.
Well, Aston Villa held talks with Feyenoord over the signing of fullback Luthriel Gutterida, while Fulham remain interested in Aston Villa defender Diego Carlos.
Now, Bournemouth, one of a number of Premier League clubs interested in signing Arsenal striker Eddie Nketiah.
Well, Thomas Frank says that he believes Ivan Toney will still be a Brentford player after the transfer window closes. It's been linked with a move to Arsenal.
Brighton are in advanced talks with the Bundesliga club Mainz over a potential deal for winger Bradjan Gruda. The Germany under-21 international is expected to cost around £25 million.
Chelsea's Conor Gallagher is expected to return from Madrid as talks over his move to Atletico have stalled. We understand that a move for PSG striker Gonzalo Ramos looks unlikely.
We've heard from Crystal Palace Chairman Steve Parish. He says that the club is yet to receive an acceptable bid for centre-back Marc Guehi. Newcastle made 3 bids. The latest thought to be more than £50 million.
Well, Everton wants to keep striker Dominic Calvert-Lewin after it emerged that he could be a target for Manchester United.
Fulham have gone back in with an improved offer for Crystal Palace defender Joachim Andersen. They're believed to be £30 million, including performance-related add-ons.
Ipswich are still looking to strengthen this window and remain interested in Calvin Phillips from Manchester City.
Leicester discussing terms with Czech forward Adam Kozlak after a loan deal was agreed with Bayer Leverkusen. 22-year-old played 23 Bundesliga games last year. Leverkusen won the title.
Well, Liverpool are now the only Premier League club not to make a signing in this window. That's after Martin Zubimendi chose to stay at Real Sociedad rather than move to Anfield.
Manchester City could go back into the transfer market after selling Julian Alvarez in a deal worth up to £82 million.
Well, Manchester United are expected to focus on midfield recruitment following the imminent arrivals of Nusayr Mazraoui and Matthias de Ligt. However, any potential incomings will be dependent on budget and valuation. Dialogue remains open with PSG over Manuel Ugarte.
FC Charlotte have approached Newcastle over the potential signing of forward Miguel Almiron, but any deal will have to move quickly at tomorrow's MLS transfer deadline.
Nottingham Forest are close to complete a deal for Paraguay winger Ramon Sosa from Argentina Cartagena.
Southampton centre-back Armel Bella-Kotchap is having a medical with Hoffenheim after a £12.8 million deal was agreed.
Well, Tottenham's new signing Dominic Solanke is ready to start against Leicester next Monday. They're still keen to sign an energetic midfielder and a winger this window.
West Ham have completed the signing of defender Aaron Wan-Bissaka from Manchester United. Joins on a 7-year contract for an undisclosed fee. Answer is worth £15 million. 8 signings for West Ham in this window already.
Well, Wolves left-back Hugo Bueno has joined Eredivisie side Feyenoord on a season-long loan.
Another done deal announced today comes from Bournemouth. Bournemouth have signed the defender Julian Araujo from Barcelona. The fee for the 22-year-old is £8 million. He signed a 5-year deal. This was him meeting his new teammates today. Well, James, let's talk some more about Bournemouth. They've obviously, as Michael was mentioning, sold Dominic Solanke to Tottenham. Are they going to buy Eddie Nketiah from Arsenal?
Yeah, we mentioned it in the wrap, just a bit more meat on the bones here. A number of Premier League clubs that are looking into the details around a potential deal to sign Eddie Nketiah in this window. We understand the most important thing for him in this window, and for his future really, is first team minutes here. Arsenal turned down a £17 million bid from Marseille earlier on this window. So you understand roughly what the valuation of the player is. An ambitious deal, but they do need to replace Dominic Solanke, you feel.
And what about Aaron Ramsdale? He's not going to sit and watch David Raya keep goal for another season at Arsenal, is he?
Well, I mean, time's running out in that sense because you do wonder. I mean, you'd imagine you wouldn't want to do that, of course, with England aspirations as well. But we do know this morning that it was interest from Ajax. That's loan interest, not a permanent deal interest. So we want to see if that one develops or not. But at the moment, Arsenal not keen on loaning out Ramsdale.
OK. Let's talk about what's happening in Scotland. A big deal for Celtic and also for Norwich, whose striker Adam Eder has moved, well, he's going to move, it looks like, to Celtic Park, having been on loan there and doing really well last season.
Yeah, he did do really well there as well, and he's close to agreeing a 5-year deal to return to Celtic after that loan spell he had there last season. It did go ever so well, and of course Brendan Rodgers was very impressed. And we revealed last night that the clubs agreed a fee up to £9.5 million for the Ireland international. Now, Celtic will pay an initial fee of £8.5 million plus £1 million add-ons. Norwich have also inserted a 15% sell-on clause on the deal. Eder has agreed personal terms and will undergo a medical and finalise the deal. Now, I know there's a little bit of frustration from Celtic fans not being too busy in the window just yet, but that is big money, a big signing for Brendan Rodgers.
And playing together with Kyogo and others, it's a fairly frightening forward line for Scottish Premiership defence.
They're looking strong in the Scottish Premiership. Well, I mean, maybe the bigger criticism you have over Celtic maybe over the last few years is their performances in Europe. But as we said, just as I said a few minutes ago, there was that bit of frustration that they haven't been too busy in the window. That's a big sign.
And for Norwich, that's very useful money with the window still open until August the 30th.
Absolutely, yeah. And they had a disappointing start, didn't they? That defeat against Oxford United. We'll see if they get to reinvest that. And, of course, Delia Smith, reading earlier that she's on her way out, leaving the football club. Yeah.
Michael and James Savunda, thanks very much indeed. The transfer show's back with you tomorrow at our usual times in the evening of 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock. The reason that we've had our second show early tonight at 6:30 is that we're clearing off because it is the first midweek soccer special of a new season. Jules Warren is still making notes. Jules, you should have done that hours ago. Alongside him, Paul Merson, Clinton Morrison, Rachel Corsie and Tim Sherwood, who's in his seat much earlier than usual. There's dozens of games in the Carabao Cup and Rangers in the Champions League qualifier, and they're next.